So welcome to this episode of The Rumble. My guest today is somebody that the kind of person I don't normally get to see or talk to. Somebody with brains. Normally I'm talking to actors, and not that actors are all stupid, but anyway, Mr. Ramaswami is the guest today. He's a professor. He started off as a professor, and in reverse order he went to becoming Mr., which is a mysterious thing, but he's well known in the teaching area, and he's got lots of interesting things for us from an American perspective. So welcome to the show, Mr. Ramaswami. May I call you Ram?
Ram would be perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Ram, tell us, I know you've written a book, Innovation by India for India. How did this all come about? Is it something you aimed at for a long time?
Yes and no. Okay. I have been, as a researcher, giving lectures on my research in many different countries, like Australia, Belgium, Denmark, India certainly. I've been reasonably successful in generating a lot of research work based on my own in many other countries. In India, the level of success I've had has been much less, although I should
poor,
say...
you should say.
I won't call it poor. There are some people, for example, at the Cochin Technical University, under Professor Krishna who have done some very good work. But it has not been as great as I would have liked it to be, given the potential of India and Indians.
And what subjects are you generally talking about in the course of your research?
I work in probability theory and applications. So like, for example, a lot of my research is on applied probability queuing theory. Then recently I'm doing a lot of work on Brownian motion, computational methods, which are...
I must confess, this is double Dutch to me, but...
but which are applicable in risk theory, finance, insurance.
Oh, that's where the applications are.
Yes, and also telecom. You see, Bell Labs is a telecom company, so congestion control in communication networks. I have many patents in those areas. I also have patents in areas like efficiently distributing video content over the internet and things like that. So that was in the background. Then secondly, I chanced to meet Dr. Abdul Kalam almost in a one-on-one meeting for 50 minutes. I was invited to give the Ramanujan Memorial Lecture at Anna University. At the end of it, I was asked whether I will be able to meet with Professor Kalam, which of course, was a great honor. I did, and at the end of the conversation, he suggested to me that I should put my thoughts and based on my experiences, because I have been involved in what is almost like a temple of innovation in America. So if you can put your thoughts together and convey to the younger people, it would do a lot of good. So between these two, when I retired, I took this up as the first project.
You did it after you quit working full-time?
That's right. So
isn't that a handicap? Or were you handicapped in some way because you need help to do all the work? Or you had research scholars?
No, I have been making notes all along as I go along. And secondly, at home, I'm equipped with
endless cups of tea that come
computers and other things, all the stuff I need. And I have access to libraries. So so that part was easy.
How is it different if you were to write this book in India? Would you have been handicapped in some way, or it would have made no difference?
No, I don't think it would have made any difference. But probably, as long as I have access to a good library, I could have done the same thing.
Now, the internet, was that not enough? I mean, you have to go much more.
There are two reasons. One is I do refer to several articles from the internet. The academic community somehow frowns at those types of references. Something in print
more like cut paste
becomes holy grail. So naturally, I wanted this to be seen by people who are also academics, scientists in India, because they are the ones who can make the changes that I would like to see happen in our context.
You gave me a good lead. I always wanted to ask people, when you come in from abroad and you see the abysmal state of whatever is there in the country, or sometimes you might be impressed also at the rate of things will change in India. I don't know whether you've ever been impressed, but when you come back here, what's the first thing that strikes you is that we are really backward in?
No, on the contrary, I'm really amazed at the quality of science and the quality of the people, honestly.
Okay.
I think one needs to put things in perspective. Any Indian scientist who accomplishes something has accomplished it despite it all. Okay?
Okay.
I mean, this is something that I need not say.
Working against all odds.
And here, a country is sending a probe to Mars.
Yes.
Or now setting a record in sending 104 satellites.
Yes.
Having developed its own nuclear
Weapons,
missiles and also delivery systems.
That's true.
All these, if you look at it, I think India has made tremendous progress. If I look at my cohorts, okay, people who were not born and brought up in the US,
But your contemporaries.
they were made in India, okay?
Okay.
They got their basic education at least up to a master's level in India.
Yes.
And it is on that they have built all their successes. So when I look at this, I have every reason to be very proud as an Indian. I still carry an Indian passport, by the way.
So, but that last little bit which you picked up in the USA, I guess, at some point, whatever you finished here and then you moved across, was that the tipping thing why you think you can do better work when you go there? Is that why we see better results?
Okay, better in the sense there are many factors that lead to that. One is the whole education system is geared to make one think independently, solve problems, rather than a kind of a one-way education or
learn by rote,
or a repetitive kind of a learning. The second is, I told you I started in academia. I was there for 4 years. My thesis topic was one of which a very special case was being worked on in Bell Labs in the context of the first data communication system, what was called the data kit, which is probably a mini version of an internet big router today. So I could have gone to Bell Labs at that time, but I wanted to stay in academia because I was very committed to doing research. But in about 4 years, I was still interacting with people from Bell Labs, discussing a lot of ideas with them.
Okay.
And I found out that more exciting things were happening there. And I could do the same research I was doing in academia, but apply it to some real systems and see my work come alive. And that was the temptation that moved me to Bell Labs.
So you mentioned at some point that people look down upon commercialization of academics. You apply it to do this, that, and the other. It's not as pure, a thing to do as just study for the heck of it. Is that an Indian thing or is that a US thing?
It is an academic thing across
Doesn't matter
the
where
world,
it came from.
but in India it's much more acute. I don't know where it comes from.
I think it must be to cover up all the deficiencies that they haven't invented.
No,
anything.
not really. Our great heroes, if you look at them, they have been either great philosophers or great theoreticians, like Ramanujan, for example.
Yes.
Even today, Ramanujan, of course, was a great mathematician.
No, but while you're on Ramanujan, just for digressing for a second, I have no clue what he did, and I keep talking to people. They also confess they have no idea what he did, because he just gave certain formulations and he never told anybody how he arrived at that. So that was the greatest mystery, more than what he actually propounded, was how did he arrive at these mysterious subjects. So when you come back, we're going to come for a break now. When you come back, we'll catch up at the application problem, if you want to call it that. So tell me, when you worked in these institutions abroad, you consciously tried to make a product out of what you were researching, or you just left it to pure research?
I personally did. About 80% of my time was spent on what somebody may characterize as academic type research, which is more on foundational issues, really basic mathematical results. But at the same time, I was very conscious of the fact that if I did not contribute in some way to the company,
the bottom line, as they say,
there's no role for me there. So all through my career, I've always found things to do which were valuable to the company. The only difference is if some other part of the company comes to me with a problem, if that is something that could be solved by an existing mathematics or off-the-shelf solution,
Yes.
I would either point to them saying that, look, you read this section, you should be able to do it yourself, or direct them to a consulting department in our professional services.
Okay.
So the kind of applied problems I took on were problems which had a serious research component, something where either a new methodology or new idea had to be injected. And the company allowed me the ability to make that choice.
Okay.
It's in that sense that I said, we were not told, this is your project, thou shalt work on this.
So research, the research community, does it always keep abreast of what everybody in the world is doing? Are you abreast of?
Yes, because on any given day, there are at least 3 or 4 seminars given by our colleagues or by visiting academics or visiting people from other companies.
In Bell?
In Bell.
Okay.
And everybody is invited to those seminars.
Okay.
See, I am trained as a mathematician. What do I know about a switch or a router or a signaling system, right? Unless I sit in these talks and
You see
listen
where
to,
they apply those.
Yeah, so very often we see problems where the guys who are working on it don't because of our expertise. Like a potential for a congestion to occur somewhere within the system and that having various side effects. As a queuing theory person, I can see, whereas they may not be able to see it until.
So that's what you were doing. You mentioned this earlier. Queue in, as you say, standing in a queue.
Yes, starting in a queue. There are applications. There are people who apply them. Like Disneyland is one of the great places where they do have a lot of these things designed by queuing theories managed. But the real applications, the more serious applications, are in computer systems. You are in communication systems. You and I, let's say, are talking on the internet.
Yes.
Our talk is broken into small packets sent on these wires.
Packet data.
Yeah, they wait at various routers in various buffers.
Yes.
How do you manage the end-to-end delay? How do you make sure that there is
the first part of the sentence doesn't come after the end?
That's right. Or how do you make sure that there's no frame slip in the video and suddenly it starts raining in somebody's TV.
So some of the applications are quite prosaic. I mean, day-to-day applications.
So day-to-day applications are very prosaic. Like, for example, one of the pieces of work which I did is one where there was a large community which couldn't get dial tone for many hours at a time. This was pre-wireless times.
Okay.
Imagine somebody having a heart attack. How are they going to call 911 to get an emergency service? Okay. So they didn't know what was causing it, and I was very instrumental in identifying the root cause.
So it's like you're a crime-busting unit, as they say. You just went in there and figured out what.
Yes. Once see this particular work, which is even referred to in this book, came about because my director came to me and said, "I'm going to a meeting. Would you like to come with me just to listen to and tell me whether this could be a congestion-related problem?" Because they thought it was the maintenance that was creating the problem.
Okay.
So things of this type, but we also play a role as kind of consultants, okay? There are consulting departments. We take on the full responsibility if it has a truly research component where the problem is new, where it needs a new
area of research rather than...
where it needs a new solution, new set of ideas. Like that work which I mentioned resulted in 6 patents on congestion control. Okay. Related to this emergency.
And that's something we keep hearing about American scientists and their patents. They make tons of money. And here in India, they say patents is just a waste of time.
No. Who makes money? I don't make money.
I don't know.
On the patents I've done, see, this is treated by the company as work for hire. Okay. The day they hire me, they give me $1 because a contract is valid only if there is a consideration for that.
Yes.
But they say that any invention I make belongs to them.
Oh.
So the one who makes money out of my patents is really
the one who
the company. Okay.
It.
In the case of classic companies like the ones I work for, all they gave me was a plaque to hang on the wall. and maybe a small bonus. Okay.
Okay.
That's not the case with my son, who works for
Some other company.
so one of the biggest data companies. I won't mention the name. Okay. There they dump a lot of money on them. That is the new generation of.
Is it a shift in the way they operate, or is it the way that different companies
No, the
operate?
culture is different. Okay. You see, the Silicon Valley companies, the newer generation of companies, somehow have this idea that their best people who create the ideas for them should share a very big chunk of the reward they get.
Okay.
Whereas the classic companies have taken the attitude, we have given them all the freedom, we have given the nice
Now go ahead and
environment to
exploit
work
it.
in.
Yeah. Okay.
So they've been paid already.
Oh.
Okay. So in that sense,
But do the employees agree with that interpretation?
in the days I had, I didn't have a choice, right? Where else would I
suppose.
go? Today, you see, one reason a lot of these companies are losing their best researchers or dismantling their research lab is because people are now flocking to Apple and Google and
Where
places
instant
like that.
gratification.
Yeah, where they get big rewards for the work they do, or they can start on their own. See, if I were 40 years old today, I would be starting a company of my own based on some of the ideas I have. I would not be working for somebody.
Okay. And now that you come back to India, I mean, you do come back often, you're seeing the way things are going on in this country. There is a lot of talk about India, well, not being the equal of the United States, but that we can possibly create a valley culture here and it can flourish.
I think we certainly can.
All right.
And
So I'll
that's
tell you what, this is going to be a long cricket answer from him. So when we come back, we'll find out whether we can actually make something like that. So in the world of patents, it's very intriguing because we in India always want money. We see America building this and building that, and China trying to undercut them or steal their ideas. Is it that simple in patent processing when you file an application and they accept it? Is it foolproof? I mean, somebody can take it and do whatever they want.
No, it's not foolproof. Okay, there are many ways in which a patent can be legally defeated. Okay, by sufficiently modifying your invention.
Okay.
So there are many inventors. For example, take Coca-Cola. They have not patented their formula. For the very simple reason, they think it's a trade secret.
Yes.
By patenting it, they stand to lose.
It becomes open.
It becomes open. Somebody else can add a few more ingredients or take out a few and claim that it's a new formula and therefore I'm not violating the patent.
Okay.
In addition to the fact that the patent itself has a finite lifetime.
Okay.
All right. So
and patents are for processes or for products? I mean, I always get confused.
US recognizes what is called as a methods patent.
Okay.
India does not.
What do we do in India?
In India, you say that you have to have really created something, okay?
So is that a better way? Or is there nothing called
I
better
think
way?
the methods patent are crazy. Like, for example, today you and I are talking. There are US patents which are as ridiculous as saying the interviewer sitting straight across from the interviewee.
That is from that.
That is my method. I'm patenting you. I'm just giving you a ridiculous
I
example.
can see the
But if you
ridiculousness
see
of
the
that.
patent portfolios of people, you'll see such ridiculous things.
But can they enforce it? Can they enforce it?
They do try to enforce it. Okay, like this reverse auction is an example. Like I want something, I put an ad saying, you all bid for that and I'll pick the lowest bidder or whatever. What is there to patent in this? This is a system that people have used forever, right?
But they talk about steel, I mean, Bessemer, some smelting, whatever. They said that's a process. You can't ever make steel without that. Is that the only way?
No,
I'm not able to understand all
see,
these.
those are very complicated things, right?
Okay.
I mean, where there is a lot of science, a lot of invention behind the new process.
Okay.
Now, protecting those makes sense. But something like what I gave you as an example would be rather
That's
ridiculous.
trivializing the whole...
That trivializes, and unfortunately the legal system is exploited for those things to keep people out. Like somebody trying to take a remedy based on turmeric, which we have known for centuries,
Yes.
and trying to patent it.
That's true.
Right?
That's true. And I also hear a lot of legal, fighting it legally in America. They seem to run to court for every small thing.
Many corporations work as what they call as patent trolls, okay?
Okay.
What they do is they create a big patent portfolio, not for the purpose of creating products for them, but simply to sue others.
Oh, okay. So that's where you make your money.
That way you make your money. And in fact, now there are many investment companies which have set up companies which will buy your patent and have it assigned to them, sit on it just for the purpose of suing
So
others.
like more like guarding it and seeing nobody touches it
That's
or
right.
whoever infringes it. So
It's protection. It's a protection scheme. Like
a racket.
Like a gunda coming and telling you,
it's the
you want
mafia.
to run your restaurant, you're going to pay me money.
Yeah, it's another mafia.
It's exactly that. In fact, there is a lot of discussion even in the US on how to stop this and how to make the patent process more meaningful and serve the purpose for which.
But for you, Mr. Ramaswamy, it has worked, isn't it? The patent things is good. You have established a few of your own.
I have about 10 patents, and some of them are actually implemented.
Okay, so it's worth doing it.
It's worth doing it because, you see, after all, if you look at what has come up with these patents, Bell Labs has paid me a salary.
Yes.
Has given me a lot of training. And they need to benefit from my invention, right?
That's true.
So to that extent, the patent is the right thing.
Okay.
The questionable things are, like for example, in this case, if I had done this work in India, would this be patentable? Probably not. The government would have argued that
this is nothing new.
Not nothing new. The public good, okay?
The greater
because
good.
The fact that congestion can prevent people from calling somebody in the event of a heart attack, something like that should be available to everybody. You should not. This is the argument in the pharmaceuticals, right?
Yes,
that's
been going on. Big
and
pharma
that, I
is
think,
always
is a legitimate argument. Always, the social.
Yes.
The good of the larger society has to take precedence
should
over prevail, but. In the US, that's not the case. It's a capitalist system.
I know.
And very rarely you have a situation where a patent is rejected on those grounds.
Okay. So we in India, we are following, as far as we are concerned, a moral kind of path. When you say that you can't patent.
It's both moral and also practical. Okay, because you see, how can you afford? I get an infusions for my rheumatoid arthritis. Each infusion is $5,000.
Okay.
How many rheumatoid patients do you have in India? Do you think they can pay $5,000 for an infusion? So tomorrow, if some Indian scientists, they're working on what they call biosimilars.
Yes.
If somebody comes up with a biosimilar, if some company comes and sues saying we are the first people who made biosimilars, you can't make it. Should that patent prevail or should India really stand up? I personally think India should stand up. And
India is standing up. I think we are going for what are those medicines they call them?
They do have a category of medicines which are of the life-saving kind that they said will not be subject to
any of these restrictions.
Right.
That you can go ahead and make them. So now you having been here for what? 30 years of traveling back and forth between the US 43 years. Okay, that's even more than I thought. What single thing would you expect us to do now? Having seen the way the world is going, what should we be doing now?
I think our mindset should change, okay? Make in India should not be a business of selling our best minds and bodies to others, lending it to others.
I don't think that was ever the idea. I don't think we ever
That's
thought.
Exactly the idea. Okay, look at software. Are we the leaders of software?
No, but
in what
that
way?
happened even before the slogan of Made in India was taken up by the...
Even now, if you look at Make in India, a lot of the things are, we want foreign companies to come, set up manufacturing here. We want to become the manufacturing hub for them.
That's, I suppose, to save some money and get some technology.
But that's okay for the short run. But in the long run, if we don't generate our own intellectual property,
yes,
own it,
I agree.
Develop commercial items based on them, that is where the bigger margins are. We got many more mouths to feed.
That's true.
than any other
So
country.
the
How are we going to do
educational system that you've been seeing here, you've been seeing theirs, you've been seeing ours, you're a product of ours also. Is there something fundamentally different between what they do and what we do?
that? Yes, fundamentally different in many, many ways. I have 2 chapters devoted to that.
Okay, by the way, I forgot to mention. He's written a book. It's called Innovation for India, by India, and the Need and the Challenge. It's a fascinating book. I'm sure it is because it's big and fat and lots of words, and it's be nice to read because it's big letters. Okay, that suits people of my age. But buy it and help him get the word around about the book Innovation by India for India, written by Mr. V. Ramaswamy. So there you have it. A man from the US comes back to tell us what is, according to him, not quite right now.
An Indian from the US.
An Indian from the US. He hasn't forgotten that. So thank you very much for coming, and it's been
thanks
lovely
a lot.
talking to you.
Thank you very much.
Lovely
It's my
talking to you.
pleasure.
Thank you very much.